It is great to welcome Kelsi Mayne on this podcast. She is a country musician and singer-songwriter based in Ontario. Welcome to the show, Kelsi. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm great.
Yeah. So, tell me about your past summer. How was it?
Oh, this summer was definitely one for the books. I took a break from music for a little bit to go back into nursing during the pandemic, so I wasn't sure when I came back if I'd still kind of be relevant. But we this summer definitely proved that people still remembered me, so that was amazing. I got to play the Calgary Stampede, Cavendish Beach Music Fest for the first time. So that was my first time ever playing out east. A bunch of shows in Ontario. So we were all across Canada, and then CCMAs was just in Edmonton. So yeah, back and forth across Canada. It was amazing. Awesome summer.
Hmm. And what are your plans for this fall?
This fall, I am actually recording right now. I've been back and forth between Nashville all year as well. So I have about 10 songs that I'm working on at the moment. So I'm just finishing up those and then gonna start releasing some very soon.
All right. Yeah, I'm glad to hear. So, I'm
Hey.
guessing you have plans for a new album, maybe?
Yeah, I think we're gonna do some singles first and then release everything together as an album. So yeah, that's the plan.
Mhm. So, what's it like being back in music after a long absence?
I actually, that's a very good question because initially I was pretty intimidated, to be honest. Being away from something for so long, you start to question yourself and wonder if you still have it, if the passion is still there, and if you're going to be any good getting back to it. And I had a lot of those doubts in my head. And if this is what I really wanted to do, I was doing well in another career as a nurse, and it's more secure. So there's that side to it too. And then the more I started doing music again, the more I realized, no, this is what I'm meant to do. So yeah. But the first initial step was hard. Yeah.
When did you discover that music is your calling?
You know what? I always wanted to do it. Um, as a little kid, watching the Grammys or the CMAs and stuff on TV, and I'm like, oh, I love to do that one day and be there one day, and I loved to sing and perform around the house. But it wasn't until so I was in nursing school, and I took a part-time job as a bevertainer. They were asking for like a Coyote Ugly kind of staff where you would sing. Well, other people were dancers. They made a singing position for me. Um, so I would sing at the bar and then serve and jump up on top of the bar and perform, and then jump back down and continue serving. And it wasn't until I was graduating around the same time, and I had um some patrons come up to me two different nights in a row, complete strangers, and they said the exact same thing. They said, "What are you doing here? And you should take this to the big city." So when I heard that the first time, I kind of brushed it off and I was like, "Oh, thank you." But then the very next night, when I heard the exact same thing repeated to me, I'm like, "Whoa, this is weird." And I took it a bit more seriously. So I was like, "Okay, I think this is a sign. I should follow it." And so I did, and I moved to Toronto literally like a month later. I called up my brother who was already living there. I was like, "Can you Hang on, I'm gonna move in to your couch, so make some room. Yeah,
Yeah. And you grew up in Windsor, right?
it did. Yeah.
Mhm,
Windsor, Ontario, born and raised, and then I went to university there as well.
mhm. Yeah. What's it like growing up there?
You know what? It is a city, and people ask me like why country? It's such a blue collar city because of the factories, and it's Motor City, right? It's we make all the cars here, and a lot of factory workers, and it's just that the same kind of country mentality where you're hard working, give the shirt off your back to your neighbor. So I am so proud to be from Windsor. I know a lot of uh, people living in other cities, they can knock it all they want, but I'll never be not proud of coming from Windsor.
Mhm. Yeah. Tell
Mhm.
me about the music that you grew up with.
I grew up with, well, being a Highland dancer, I grew up with like Celtic music around the house. Hence my red hair. It comes naturally. And so a lot of bagpipes, fiddles. But then I grew up with a lot of Detroit radio. So being across from Detroit, so that's like Motown and R&B and rap and hip hop. So and then country radio as well. So just a huge mix of everything. And my parents would play, some rock and stuff around the house. So I grew up with literally everything. And like Pavarotti. Like my mom's Italian, so like I grew up with a whole mishmash of things.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you still listen to those music today?
I do. I do. I I try to just I find myself actually going back to listening to the songs and the music that I grew up with, mainly because it's been a huge source of my inspiration too. For me as a songwriter, I always like to just kind of challenge myself and do something different. And I never like to do the same thing twice. So if I do, a slow song one day, I want to do a fast song the next day. And I think this next batch of songs that I've been working on really, it really showcases all of the different styles that I grew up with. I have everything from rock to Motown to hip hop in there, and super country stuff too. So it's I'm kind of all over the map, and I'm every once in a while I'll kind of have this voice in my head, like what about, everyone says like branding or whatever, and I'm like, at the end of the day, it's all me. It's all stuff that come out of my mouth, and I'm singing it, and that's the common thread that brings it all together. So that's that's my answer to that.
Let's see. Um, so why does country music appeal to you?
Country, you know what? I think I just connected with the lyrics the most. Um, it just has like the words, it just carries substance, and you have something to say and messages to share. Um, And this past year, I think it's been a hard one. And I think I've probably lived like 10 years in 1 year, with all the things that I've been through this year. Um, and it's like, wow, like, like the heartbreak that you hear about, like, I get it now. And losing a close family member, I get it now, like all of the all of the things that you can sing about and just messages that you can write about in a song. And I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And now I have something to say. And it actually it's served as like a really therapeutic outlet for me right now.
Let's see. Yeah.
Mhm.
I know that Chris Christopherson recently passed away, so I wonder, was he part of your musical diet?
Yeah, we had a bit of him around the house, and he's just such a legend. Like he's monumental. He's Chris Christopherson for a reason, you know? So yeah, it's that was a hard one.
Hmm. Yeah, he was wonderful in the Star is Born movie with Barbara Streisand.
Right. Yeah. He's done so much in his life, and it's just like it's one of those extra reminders for I think the rest of us to just not wait and just seize every opportunity that we can.
Mhm. Tell me about your first days as a Torontonian.
My one of my some of my first days, well, so I moved in to my brother's. He had an open loft, so zero privacy. No, it's not meant for two people. Um, and especially a brother and sister. So, we were in very close quarters, and bless his soul, he's so gracious and never complained to me about it. But I moved in and I had my sleeping bag, or I had a blow up mattress for a maybe close to a year that I slept on. And because I couldn't afford a bed yet, let alone the a rent and stuff. So it would deflate by the morning. And I remember waking up on the ground. Um, so it would call for super early mornings, which made me super productive in the day and get up early and start my day and get going. And shortly after I moved in, there was a billboard right outside the window. Um, that when they put up, and it wasn't there before, like nothing was there before. It wasn't even like a different billboard. Um, they put it up, and it was that year it was Miranda Lambert playing Boots and Hearts. And Miranda was one of the reasons why I got into country music in the first place. And um I remember hearing about Boots and Hearts for the first time that year. And so this was about 10 years ago. And uh, I remember thinking, like, how do I get there? I looked up tickets, I couldn't afford them. And so I promised myself that I would go one day, but it would be because I'm performing. And I made that happen about 4 years later. So
Mhm. Oh,
yeah.
so you
Uh,
opened for Miranda Lambert.
I didn't know at Boots and Hearts. I
Oh,
played
I
it.
see.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So and then I've played that festival technically four times since. So I first did the Emerging Artist Showcase, and then 2 years later I got to perform the main stage. And then the next year I was in the Sirius XM Top of the Country contest as a finalist, and the prize is to play the Sirius XM stage there. So I played that. And then the following year was the pandemic, and they invited me back to play. They did a TV special with Bell 5 TV, and so I got to play again on for their television special. So,
I
yeah.
see. Yeah. Well, I do hope that you have a chance to open for Miranda Lambert at some point.
Oh, that would just be a total full circle moment for
Oh yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you can relate to her that story about the billboard.
I did get to meet her backstage once. I had a friend who invited me along to a concert, and he had backstage access because he built a few guitars for her band. So he was delivering them, and he he brought me along because he knew I was a big fan. And so we were standing backstage, and I was talking to someone in her band or someone in her crew, and she comes walking up, and then it's just the three of us in a circle. And she walks up and she starts talking to him. She's like, I haven't seen you in forever. And then she just looks at me and like kind of like, oh, what are you doing here? And who are you? And then because I'm like having a drink at her trailer in the back, at this
Mhm.
point. And so she's like, "Who are you?" But she was pretty gracious and didn't actually say it. But I just kind of went super silent and tried to pretend like I was not freaking out in my pants. So it was
Yeah.
but
Those occasions can happen a lot. Like when you're in a circle with at least someone that you do not know and you don't know what to say and everything.
I just try to play it cool, and yeah. It's I feel like I have a pretty good poker face. So there's
Yeah. I suppose that you can take that billboard as a sign, like a literal sign, but also a sign of a divine source, to the extent that you do believe in the divine as such.
I think so. I think so. I've had a few of those signs and circumstances in my life where it's just like things just kind of f- somehow work out. And like there was another time where um I had a flight cancel on me. They gave me a voucher. With that voucher, I went to Nashville on my flight back. I was sat next to someone randomly who ended up being a friend of a friend who had a just bought a place in Nashville. And then a few months later, I got to be a property manager for that property in Nashville. In exchange, I got to live there, and I stayed there for 5 months straight and really cut my teeth in songwriting and built a foundation while I was there. But I got to live there for free in exchange. So it was just like one thing just led to another, led to another. It started out with a circumstance where my flight got canceled and I was really bummed about it. But then, it's like something bad turned into something good. So you never know what's in store, that you just gotta roll with the punches.
What's your fondest Nashville memory?
Oh, I just posted about this. I had an amazing, so I wrote a song with a producer from Memphis, and he was like, you know what, we should just record it. We should just have like a rough work tape demo of it. And so I said, okay. So he said, can you show up at this location at this time? So he sends me the address to the studio, and I get there, and it's a house in the middle of nowhere, and it's needs some work from the outside. Like some things are kind of falling off, and um it's a bit older, and but it's a house. And so I'm a little nervous when I pull up, and but my guitarist and the producer were already there. So I saw their cars, and they told me to come around the back. And so I knew I wasn't by myself. So I went to the back, and this man walks out, long white beard, long white hair, walks out, and I think he had like a stain on his shirt. He's a little disheveled looking, and I get to meet him, and I find out that he's the owner of the studio. And I discover that he doesn't have any teeth, and he's wearing these dark sunglasses, and we start talking a bit more. And uh, then he shows me his studio, and we walk up to it. Again, it's like a dilapidated kind of shack in the back. But we walk in, and it's pristine, and it's perfect and beautiful, very well laid out and thought out. And And then I also discovered that this man is blind, which kind of made sense with the dark sunglasses and also the layout of this beautiful studio and the thought that was put into it. And then I start talking to him more, and then uh, he says, "Oh, I play the keys," and so he starts playing the keys and just like beautifully, like the talent and the passion and the soul in this man in his pinky was more in my entire body. Like he was just a different level. Um and then I asked like, well, who do you or did you play for? And then the Allman Brothers was his answer. And so I didn't know whether or not to scream or cry, and I just felt like I had every emotion in my body hit me at once at that moment, and I'll never forget it. And then the rest of the day, and I was pretty shitty at my performance was not great because of I think those emotions, and it wasn't an easy song to begin with. Um, and then, but the rest of the day, he was just so gracious and courteous and just such a sweet host. And I had to play and I had to sing while he was playing at the same time. So that was another factor. Um, and but anyways, his name is Johnny Neal, and he just passed away about 5 days ago. So that hit me really hard when I found that out because he's been on my bucket list to go back and visit. And so I'm really kicking myself I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, may rest in peace.
Yeah, but that's definitely one of my all-time favorite memories for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. So, which is America's music capital, Nashville or Detroit?
Oh, ouch. Oh, you're gonna start a fight here. I mean, I think just based on, oh man, I don't know. I'm probably a little biased, but um the history, oh, there's history in both places, man. I don't know. Oh man. They're two different, they're apples and oranges. You can't. Don't make me choose. Don't because you got the Motown, you got everyone from Aretha and Diana Ross, Eminem even who started in Detroit, and then you have Nashville that has the Opry and everyone from you know Patsy Cline and Merle and everyone who stepped into that circle. So I can't. I don't know. They're two different monsters.
I'll put it as undecided. Yeah. So, what was it like living with your brother in your first days or months in the big city?
I mean, we lived together luckily, we're very close siblings. I have a brother and a sister, and we're all super close and very supportive of each other. And we grew up in a very small home, so we were used to kind of like stepping over each other. So it I mean, it wasn't like anything that that different than what we're used to. He, however, I think it was harder for him because he went off to school at that point and had already lived on his own. So to go back and live again with a roommate, that's always a challenge. And he was very quiet about anything that upset him. But I always could tell. So I just kind of would try to, not get into his space too much. But I think we moved within a year of me. living in that unit with him. We moved to one where we had, actual doors and bedrooms and just separate quarters. So that helped.
Oh yeah, of course it does. Mhm. Tell me more about your work as a registered nurse. I'm sure that's still an ongoing profession. How did the pandemic change the nature of that work?
Oh man, I never thought in my if you would have told me that my different career paths would ever intertwine, I would joke and I would laugh in your face. So when my film background and my nursing background, so one of my first jobs ever as a nurse in Toronto was actually on set as a fake nurse on TV because they actually like to hire some real qualified really qualified personnel to kind of be in front of the camera and do things close up that are actually real looking. So changing an IV bag and um, just kind of like doing a dressing change or something like that, like on screen. So I was on the TV show for Saving Hope, and I was on for I think season 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 or something like that. And so and then so I got to know the film world and how that worked and be on set and the long days. Um and that was a really cool set because we were considered special skilled extras, but that crew loved us so much just to hang around because I think they just felt like we were extra morale on set for the long days. And so they actually would keep us instead of having us go back to the extra, they call it BG for background, BG holding. Um, they actually would keep us there with them on set while they would do the set changes and and film and everything. And so I got to see a lot of the how it worked behind the scenes. So then when the pandemic hit, there was this huge need to keep the industry running because they were considered uh, essential workers. So um, we had to keep the film industry running, and so they required all these medical needs and personnel. So that's where I kind of saw my two strengths and knowledge is kind of combining. And so we create a company. My brother, who's a filmmaker, anyways, and a couple friends who are also in film, and one of them also with a medical background. So it just made sense to combine the two and help them. And I I think we did it the best out of out of all of the other companies out there that did it, just because we understood it inside and out, and we were able to do it um, at a much more affordable rate because I think the medical companies, the true medical companies, just saw an opportunity and they swept in. But we just genuinely wanted to help our friends, so uh, we did it more efficiently. And I think it was pretty rewarding actually to be able to do that and to be that person of support when we didn't know what was happening at that time.
And the company is called Pulse Film Solutions.
Pulsar UV, yeah, yeah, Film Solutions, yeah, you got it.
So, Pulsar Film Solutions, and of course, your brother is your business partner now.
Yes, yes. So I mean, that's how close we are. We always work together. I mean, we do my music videos together. So, he's helped me do all of them. And so we'll come up with a concept together. We'll go out and film it. He's usually behind the camera and then he'll direct it, and then I'll go and I'll edit it and then send it back to him. He'll clean it up and do his fixes, and that's that. So yeah, we work very closely together.
That's it. Yeah. So 2020 was also the year where you published your album, As I Go. So
Yeah,
yeah, and I listened to it. It's a lovely album. So tell me about the
thank
making of
you.
that record.
Yeah, well, that one started in 2018. And then I actually thank you to Factor Canada for giving me a grant that I could go and record it. So I was very fortunate to receive that grant. It's it's the hardest one and most prestigious one to get in Canada, and I was very fortunate to receive it, and so that enabled me to record at that time because I mean I was sleeping on a mattress on a inflatable mattress at that point, so it was very well received and needed to record that album. I got to that was my first time actually getting to record in Nashville, um, seeing how that worked with session players. Um, so we have like the drummer. I had Doug Romano was my producer, and he got a bunch of his friends to play on it. So Nick Buda played the drums on it, who he's played with everyone from Dolly Parton to Taylor Swift. So it's really cool to have um, session players like that on your record, and then also to see them excited to play your music was also a really cool experience. That was the first time where I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is a good sign, you know, when these people who play on everything actually enjoy the music that you play on. And I remember taking a moment to tell them, you know, I know you guys have played on thousands and thousands of records, but this is my very first record, and I'll never forget this, and I really really appreciate you being here. And I think just like telling them that just kind of put a new fire in them to like really make sure they did a good job when they did. They knocked it out of the park. So yeah.
Yeah. So did you get to perform the songs of the album live?
I did. I still do. But it was hard at first. It was really hard because I released it right at the start of the pandemic. I wasn't sure how long it was going to last, right? No one knew, and I had this thing that I was working on for 2 years, and I didn't want to delay it anymore. And also at the very start, we are like, oh, this will just be like a week or two, and so I just decided to just go ahead and release it anyways. But it was really hard to just like release it and then not really be able to properly perform the songs. I had a release party all planned out, and I wasn't able to do it. So yeah, it was hard to just kind of like put your baby out into the world and then kind of not be able to feed that baby after, you know? So but but I still get to play some of the songs, and luckily SiriusXM play and a bunch of radio stations across Canada actually ended up picking up a couple of the songs. So Taking You Home was a big one, and then SOS and As I Go. I got to play SOS for the award show for the CMAO on so the CMA Ontario Awards. Um, I was asked to perform because I was nominated that year. And so that was the very first drive-in award show. I think it was possibly the first drive-in award show in the world. That might be, I'm not sure to fact check that, but that's what we think it was. Um, and so I got to play SOS on that stage. And what was cool with that was I brought horns on because I have horns on in that song, in that recording. So I brought a horn section in to perform that song with me for the award show. And because everyone was sitting in their cars, they had their horns too. So I had a moment where I said, you guys do what we do. And we did a honk, 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 honk call and response thing. It went over amazing. And it was just so cool to be able to kind of capitalize on that moment.
Yeah. So one of the songs in the album is titled Surrender, and you recently re-released the song as a wedding edition. So
Yeah.
yeah, tell me about the recording of that song in particular and the new edition of it.
Yeah, well, with that song, I always heard it with strings, and I wanted to get like cello and violin, um and I wrote that to be a wedding song. Like I think as a songwriter, um one of the things that I always wanted to do was to um be part of someone's most important day of their life. And as a songwriter, if you're I feel like if you're able to do that, um then like y that's that's the goal. That's the dream. And it's such an honor. And I'm actually performing that song at someone's wedding this Friday come or no, sorry, this Saturday coming up. So um I can't wait to actually do that live for someone and be part of their special day in person. But but yeah, that's I think that's like the ultimate honor to be part of someone's most important day of their life. So um I always wanted to write that kind of song, and I wanted to so when we wrote that song, I remember like hearing the strings in my head, and we just didn't get to do that on the album. There was time and money constraints, so I wanted to it was always on my to-do list to do after, and so I was able to make it happen. I actually called one of my good friends who she does a lot of movie soundtracks. So she got to play the strings, and she arranged that part for me. So I'm so grateful. So she works with like Hans Zimmer and like big people in LA, and so I was so lucky to have her lend her special talents on it.
Well, I wish you a lovely Saturday wedding and performance ahead.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Tell me about the creation of the album cover art, which I suppose it looks like this. If I can blur my background, but I'm sure you know what it looks like.
Yeah. So we that was again my brother and I in the middle of a park. We had I knew I needed some new shots for the album and potential covers, and we were just trying different things, and we went to a park, and we had those, I don't know what you call them, like the smoke bombs, and they have the different colors. And so we had one that was this teal color, and and they only last like 30 seconds, or maybe 60 if you get one like the big enough. So that one I was just doing a bunch of things and just kind of running around and making circles and stuff, and then we got that shot out of it. It was pretty much every shot we got was blurry, but it kind of worked. It worked for the image. And so I just literally just went like this in a circle, and then kind of it was the aftermath of that. So but yeah, it was just a lot of the things are that I go out and just do with my brother. It's kind of like we have we have kind of ideas to start, and then we just kind of play around while we're on set or on site, just see what we can come up with on the spot.
That's it. Yeah, and it's a wonderful result. I
Thank
love,
you.
I love
Thank
it.
you so much.
Yeah. Another song in the album is titled Better on You, and it's a rather interesting song for me because it has a rap verse. So tell me about the creation of this song.
Yeah, that one I actually got to write with three good friends. So KD Amond, who was a co-writer on my other song Leave, and we've written probably like 20 songs together. Um, she is just kind of a monster. When she's in the zone, she's in the zone. And so I our friend PJ, who we were writing with, so is PJ Katie and Lauren Weintraub, who's Lauren is killing it right now as an artist and songwriter. And but PJ created this loop track, and so I was really feeling it, feeling the loop track, and we were so I think I came up with like the the melody and the way that the song was going. And I was really digging into it. And then we wrote a verse and a chorus, and then we needed like a second verse. And KD, my co-writer, said, "Well, if you give me a shot of whiskey, I'll rap." So she was in the zone. We gave her a shot of whiskey, and she came up with that rap in maybe 3 minutes. And so we're like, this is staying. This is we're keeping this. So yeah, that's how that happened. And then when I went to record it, um, I was like, this song is just so fun, and it really kind of shows all sides of me and my background and my styles of music that I grew up with and like to listen to. So I was like, hey, well, I guess I'm gonna rap now. So
All right. Yeah, I think it went over well.
thanks. It's super fun. We play that live. Uh, we play that live this past summer on our tour across Canada, and it actually went over really, really well. So it's it's always really fun to throw in there and kind of surprise people.
Mhm. Yeah. So for your upcoming album, how will it be thematically and musically similar to this one as I go?
I think it's gonna be similar in a way that there's no theme. There's, there's I think this one is probably more diverse than my my last one. It's literally all over the map, and I wouldn't really have it any other way. It's gonna be hard to come up with a better title than As I Go, because um As I Go was just so perfect because it's just kind of been my mantra. I'm gonna make it up as I go, and I feel like everyone in life just does that. We all have to, no matter how much you plan for things, that nothing ever goes according to plan. So everyone just is kind of winging it. So that was the perfect title for my debut album. So um I keep gonna continue making it up as I go for my second album, I guess.
Yeah. So what impact do you hope that your music would have on the listeners?
I think um I mean, I just hope people relate to the songs and um really take away from the messages. Like, I've learned a lot of life lessons this year with everything that I've been through, and I think um one of the new songs that I have is called Someone Who Knows, and it's literally just a song I wanted to write, kind of like a song like Humble and Kind, where it's just a song of just a bunch of advice. And this is specifically, it's all just words of advice and things that I've learned along the way. And then the chorus is specifically advice from a broken heart, and I want it to serve as that. The purpose of the song is to serve as that extra voice in the back of your head. If you have like a moment of weakness, like if you can hear some of the lyrics in that song, um, like the first line in the chorus is, "If you're gonna make a promise, better keep it." And if you're gonna say those three words, better be damn sure that you mean it. And um, if someone can hear those words and those lyrics in the back of their head and in a moment of weakness, that I really hope that would if that prevents like one heart from breaking, then that song is like served its purpose. So that's kind of what I hope to do with each of my songs, is kind of serve a different purpose for different people at different moments in their life.
Mhm. So, do you find that writing and composing music about heartbreak helps with the actual heartbreak that you are or were experiencing?
Yeah, yeah, I think it does. It's such good therapy. And just being real and honest, actually, me it people know, when you're listening to a song, when the artist connects with it, whether or not they wrote it or not. But when they connect to a song and you feel it. And um when you write from such a raw place, you're going to connect with that song. And I went into one of my writes about 2 months ago now, and I had this write booked for we had to reschedule it maybe 3 times, and I didn't want to reschedule it again, but I was having a really rough day dealing with just a lot of emotional things. And so I walk into the right, and she's like, "How are you doing today?" And I said, uh I'm actually feeling pretty crummy today. Like, I'm really sad today." And she was like, I'm really glad you said that." And she said, "I'm glad you actually said that, and then instead of pretending like you were okay." And and so we really wrote from such a raw place that day, and they kind of just helped me. And this is the first time I'm writing with these people too. So it was just it's a hard thing to do with complete strangers, where you're like, "Oh, this is what I'm dealing with. This is my life." And you tell them everything. And so it's hard to do, but it's also therapeutic, because it's like now those complete strangers and I share this bond that it's like we've been through it now together, and so and they help me through it. So it's really, really special.
I suppose one overlap between your profession in music and the other in nursing is that you're fulfilling a need, an emotional or physical need, and that requires you to be sensitive or to be open. And I wonder, from your experience in working those twin professions, how do you keep from giving too much of yourself away?
Whew, man, that's a really loaded and insightful question. Uh, I've learned this past year, um, it's okay to say no. And it's okay to say, I'm only one person, and there's only, so much I can do. So, um, and really like take that time for yourself. And it's okay to do that, and just like learning to be okay with with taking a step back and just realizing like, I'm gonna need some time to deal with this or um and I've really recently connected. I try to reconnect with nature and go for walks and runs and um just kind of I've also stopped. I haven't had a drop of alcohol in because I grew up as a well, I not grew up, but I was in the bar industry for like 12 years. So, having a social drink is very normal for me. And then so just cutting that out completely has also been a change for me too. And just kind of doing these life changes and doing things that are good for you and good for your soul um are are things that I've kind of refocused on and trying to do as much as I can.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I remember the day that I learned that you can keep certain nice things to yourself and that doesn't make you a selfish person. Yeah, it totally changed my life.
Right, exactly. That's something that I've had to learn as well. And and it's okay and to also know that you don't need to explain yourself is another thing that, when if someone invites you somewhere and you say no, I can't go, I'm sorry, and then I would always explain why I couldn't go, and then it's like actually like people don't need to have an explanation, just kind of being okay with you know just keeping things personal and that's fine, you know.
Yeah. And I certainly hope that you're embracing your new life as a teetotaler.
As a what?
A teetotaler means someone who refuses drinking, who refrains from drinking alcoholic beverages.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't really notice much of a difference. I don't drink much to begin with, but it's kind of like a more of a mental thing on like how long can I go for? So it's been just over 2 months now and I'm just kind of like a stubborn person and I've also seen the effects of it. It's one of the things that I've also dealt with this year is just seeing the effects of it negatively on how it's affected other people's lives. And like my dad lost his cousin to it, um, and I had another close f- family friend really struggle with it, and seeing him go through that, and my own cousin as well, and it's just kind of just seeing how they're they're struggling overcoming it, and it's kind of like stand in solidarity to be with them and just kind of be that extra person around them that um you know they can feel safe with. That's kind of what started it, and then now it's just more like I'm also just super stubborn and just seeing how long I can go for.
Um, Tell me about meeting the comedian Theo Vaughn.
Oh, well, that was okay. So I had um one of my good friends in the industry. I've known him for years now. Um, Chris Melnichuk, he puts on the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, and they do this festival all across Canada. It actually started with a COVID concept where they were trying to figure out ways to um, have a safe comedy festival outside, and so they set up these tables all outside and spaced, 6 feet apart, and all the rules and regulations and stuff that they would follow. And then they would have these awesome comedy festivals and people had their own tables and it was just kind of like a giant outdoor living room where they would have these comedy festivals. And so they were having their last night of the entire tour out in Vancouver. And I did this super last minute trip to Vancouver after CCMAs. I was already in Edmonton. My flight got canceled because of the strike that was happening. So I rebooked it and I was like, you know what? I've been meaning to record this song in Vancouver with this producer that I co-wrote with. So why don't I just hop over to Vancouver? I'm already here. Hop over to Vancouver first, record this song, message my friend because I knew that he was there for the festival. He gave me tickets to go backstage. Theo performed the night before and he was still in town. So he came to he's like, you know what? I'm gonna just come and hang out with you guys backstage. So he shows up and I meet him and my friend Chris was like, you might know his manager. And I was like, why would I know his manager? He said, well, his manager is also from Windsor, Ontario, where I'm from. And I said, no way. And then so he mentioned his name and I was like, oh, doesn't ring a bell. So Theo and his team get out of their car and I my friend is meeting him and he calls me over to introduce me. I'm shaking Theo's hand and then I turn and I see his manager and I'm like, Tim, I'm like, what the heck? And I like completely ignore Theo. I felt, and I'm like, Tim, what's going on? And I knew him actually from Nashville. So Tim had moved, like, I didn't know him from Windsor, but I met Tim actually in Nashville, through another mutual friend, Chris Mason, who I got to meet through Friends of Friends, Canadian boy from, I think, Alberta, played for the Preds. Who introduced me to this Tim guy years and years and years ago in Nashville. We hung out a few nights and he used to have a restaurant and he hosted a Super Bowl party that I was invited to. So that's how I got to know this Tim guy. And so it's been years since I've seen him and we lost contact. And then so, but I completely ignored Theo. It was, and then I go back to Theo and I said, I'm so sorry. I'm like, that was very rude of me. It was very nice to meet you. But I just yeah, maybe it was a humbling moment for Theo, but yeah, it wasn't my best moment, but yeah.
No, I suppose it sounds better than your Miranda Lambert encounter, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was actually very quiet backstage. Like he just kind of kept to himself and he did kind of hang out with the other comedians for a bit and they I think did some like had some like photos and stuff that they took in the trailers backstage and stuff and he hung out with them for a bit but I didn't chat with him too much. My I think I scared him away a little bit. My my Italian side came out because I overheard he was looking for food and I was like, I have this, you want this? And like offering him stuff and he's like, nah, that's okay. I was like, okay, I'll leave you alone. I'm sorry, I'm Italian. My heart hurts when I hear someone's hungry. So
So finally, what does music mean to you?
um well, it's I've learned that, as I've learned that ultimately, I think my calling in life is I want to help people, and whether that be nursing or music. Um, and I feel like the way that people connect with music and especially after the pandemic and how people are going out to these live concerts with just a new appreciation for it and they realize like how much their soul needs it and I'm in the same boat. I've realized how much I need it in my life too and how much it just helps me through whatever I'm experiencing. That uh, I feel like it's served a new purpose for me, and like has a new fire in me has been lit, um, to use it as a vehicle to help people. So, and I feel like, um, because it's on, there's so many ways to listen to it, and whether it be the radio or streaming or live, I feel like I can reach even more people that way than I could ever as a nurse. So it's just served as a new rewarding vehicle for me to be able to touch people.
Well, on that note, it was wonderful talking to you, Kelsey Mayne, and thank you again for joining the show.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. Thank you.